series' primary influences are what I like to call my holy trinity. You have Blade Runner, Mad Max, and Heavy Metal Magazine. Essentially, you have the cyberpunk side of the project represented by Blade Runner and by extension Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. You have the automotive carnage and wasteland chaos of the Mad Max series, and then of course the sheer variety innate in both heavy metal, both the magazine and of course the 1981 film, whose soundtrack has plenty of the genre in question. Why so many stories? This series came about at a unique point in time where I was both equally creatively frustrated. I felt like there were very few projects that ever allowed my vision to come through in full. Not even because of creative clashing with, say, college professors or whatnot, but just simply I didn't have a project that I could call my own and I could work on separate from everything else. But secondly, also, there was a bit of a spite. There was a bit of a spite about the series creation. Almost like I had to prove to the ineffable they, because they're always the ineffable they. You can't just say, there, that's the son of a bitch you're fighting against. No, it's just kind of proving that all of my talents and skills as a creative, as a writer, as a composer, and then later on as a voice artist and filmmaker, could be realized through this one project that was completely my own from top to bottom. The big reason, though, for there being so many stories in such a short window of time is not just a combination of that sort of hyper motivation to really make something of the project, but because I do my best world building by writing. I do not I make Bibles to organize things, but I do not, make the show Bible per se. I make the production Bible, and then that's the only thing I ever use for when I'm referencing world building. No, I always explore the worlds that I create. And the great thing about what I did with Red Light Bites, which was kind of an idea suggested to me by J.D. Cohn, well, he just said basically have a weekly newsletter going, and having a flash story, that week would also kind of help keep the pulse of things. But what emerged, essentially, was this complete sandbox to tell whatever story I wanted in any part of the world, whether in the streets of Haven, in the wastelands, and to tell some really, really just fun, creative stuff. But I've created so many characters that I love through that part of the project. In 23, it was the character of Buck Sterling. This average gray father who lives in the desert, takes care of his wife, his kids, but is essentially this kind of incidental adventurer, where he's this, a madman behind the wheel. He's, he's there when you need him. He's this dependable, all-around, awesome dude. But he also contrasts perfectly with the roughneck nature of, in the story we did with him and the boys from Speed Freak Files. He's a great contrasting force to the gruff, heavy metal lifestyle of Nick, Harry, and Rory. And last year, in 2024, this character had emerged from a story I'd written in Tales from the Frontline, Hates Convoy, who became this mother of this pup she finds on the side of the road, who later gives her name as Camionera. And you get so captivated with one character, and then you just can't stop exploring them. You write all these little patches of their life that kind of build and build until you have a profile of kind of a fully fledged character. And that's the main reason why there have been so many stories written. I just couldn't help myself from exploring this. And instead of, hammering it out in a stale, dry, this is this part of the world, that is that character who does those things, I experience them by just writing them as stories. And that's why I blinked and I realized I had done about 100 stories all across the series. And that just blew my mind. Why wolves? I get asked this all the time, mainly because this project didn't actually start out in like the anthro, furry, whatever you want to call it, realm. But rather it came about as from my love of science fiction, speculative fiction, my love of classic pulp adventure, and it was just one of those things where it was kind of the cherry on top of the sundae for me, because I could have done this series with just average Joe humans, but it would lose something. It would lose that je ne sais quoi. It would lose that ephemeral, that's what makes it element. Because I do believe that the wolves are what make this series so fascinating, because it also isn't a sort of offhanded anthropomorphication. There are elements of the fact that these are wolves that seeps into the story. It's the way there's elements of the tactile, the sense, hearing. There's elements of kind of the going back to nature element, where you have certain stories that are told about, you know, kind of like the base level instincts. There's a reason why there's the insult of being called feral. You know, it's basically you're being called less than civilized. You're basically you're being called a dog. But the big thing about the reason why I chose wolves really is just they looked cool. Like, yeah, dude in leather jacket, jeans, cowboy boots, driving a Mustang, rocking a Harley, that's cool. Put a wolf in a leather jacket, jeans, cowboy boots, rocking a Mustang or rocking a Harley, and it looks badass. It looks like a fucking metal album cover. And the best part, most people agree. I've had this happen so many times where one guy will come up to me, he's like, I don't get why they're wolves, but I can't see it not being wolves. Like, it's just one of those things where it fits it makes the countenance of the project. If they weren't wolves, I wouldn't have had a series, because I don't think I would have had the license to get as kind of playful and as kind of occasionally over the top as I do get, especially with a series like Urban Avenger, where Lita is just an absolute mad woman. She is a she is a fucking freak in like 50 different senses of the damn word. And you know, that goes double for Speed Freak Files, because you basically wind up looking at the absolute worst of the worst, the truly feral amongst the desert civilizations. And, you know, I think there's no better example of that than maybe Brett's debut story, 2 to Tango, 4 to Shred, where literally the arch-villainess is a cannibal debt collector. I mean, you get to do utterly unhinged things with this series, and I think I get licensed to do that because the characters are wolves, and you kind of expect there to be a sort of a heightened aspect to the drama and to the action of the series. And again, I don't think I could have done this any other way. I think the wolves are the hook. Without them, it's just kind of, oh, it's a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk dystopia project. I mean, there's still a lot of moving parts, but I don't think it would be nearly as appealing, and I don't think it would nearly be as fun to write for if it was just people. So the wolves are here because the wolves are awesome, and they make the series so much fun to write for. The simple, obvious answer is start with the first 2 annual collections, because they give you a good sense of how the project, 1, has evolved, but 2, has given you an all sides look at the series. It covers all 5 branches for those first 2 years. It has certain bonus stories, including those first 9 Red Light Bite short stories. And in general, I don't think you could ask for a better representation of what we do in this project than those first 2 years. You know, even if I do think I've improved over time, even if there's certain stories that I've written more recently that I probably like more than the ones that I've written previously, I would still say it's kind of, if you want the apotheosis, there it is. But also, the way I look at this series too is that you don't have to just follow, you don't have to be in it for everything. The nice thing about a variety project like this is that you can pick and choose what series you're interested in. Like, if sort of the plight and the sort of psychological elements of The Hunt are more appealing to you, if you think the struggles those characters are going through are more dramatically compelling than sort of the straight action of The War, or sort of the humor of Urban or Speed Freak, that's fine. Follow The Hunt. Go down that road. Similarly, if you just really like those other 2 series and you're not really interested in the main narrative, that's fine. I love them too. Why else would I write them? So it's kind of this, it's the nature about all good anthologies. There is always something for everyone. You know, within parameters, of course. If you get turned off by the fact that they're all wolves, you know, c'est la vie. If you get turned off by the fact that this is very much cut from the cloth of Pulp Fiction, it's not particularly interested in a lot of literary concerns, even if I myself, you know, probably read more literary stuff from time to time, you know, that's fine. Absolutely. You know, but if you dig the gist of the project, I don't think you could ask for a better representation of the promise of it than those first 2 collections. And then from there, follow along however you see fit.